by the people, for the people, the gathering to get healthcare now. Poems, chapter 13. Looking for comfort. Every man looks for comfort in his associations and finds it listening to joyous responses. When you talk freely and when you laugh, your body warms and tension leaves you. You're freed of the uncoupling feelings of somber days. How long, how I long to walk hand in hand with you, to talk and to spin yarns so long the day will slip by unnoticed. We will lay down and turn out the lights. We will retell funny stories until we fall asleep in each other's arms, covered, warm and spooning. The mammoth is down. We felled a tree from 1912. It was next to the house, a tall oak with a huge trunk. It was nearly dead. A grapevine had consumed it. The limbs fell every day. We worried about that tree. We thought the wind would come and crack it and it would fall into the house. It was a dream of an elephant charging through, splitting the timbers asunder. I stood away from the tree, looked at the trunk, then up to the high branches. I could see how it would fall. It would go between the pump house and the gazebo. It would crack over the concrete wall and fall into the yard. Nothing would be hurt. The earth would catch it. The mammoth would rest. I made a low cut on the downside. I cut it higher on the watching side. I was afraid as I reached the midpoint. I heard wood crack. I waited for the beast to point its fall, to commit to lying down. It leaned just a little, as I had imagined. A 2-inch gap showed in the cut. It stopped and waited. I put the crosscut in the gap and made 3 more cuts. It cracked again. Then it began to roar. We backed off, and you could hear 6 people gasp at once. It was committed to fall. It tore into the ground and settled. We cheered. The mammoth was dead. It was just wood now, fuel for winter. It was not the terror that stood outside waiting to consume the house on a dark, stormy night. Maybe even consume one of us. Now the feast. Now the celebration. The mask. Don't push. Don't push. Beneath the anger, there's concern. There's a heartfelt need to make the best come from meager efforts, to test the temper, the edge of life. Wait for that gentle touch, the caring that will return and bring love again. Moods. I would write of love all the time, but love's not present all the time. Sometimes you don't feel loving. You feel bitchy. You snap at the heels of the smellers. You growl at the bastards running around you. Sometimes you hate. You like hating then. It gets rid of the bleeding ulcers. It heaps just desserts on many around you. When you're hateful, people think you're normal. It makes possible the fair exchange of hateful acts. Because tomorrow will be their bitchy day. Your heels will be snapped. You'll be stared into the ground. Comes around. Passes. Murder. No brave man ever killed his son. even though that son may have reached his arm and grabbed that man's throat and wrung the breath from his reluctant, rising, old, and angry body. Yet that man stood and crushed his son's violent, mad, hateful, pleading aim at murder. That man struck him hard. He fell dead. The old man cried, his life dead before his eyes. He killed himself. He killed his life to come. Stupid old man. Where was the other way? The hiding from the expected path of manly acts. Where was the not confronting, the wearing down, the running, the talking, not the killing, not the killing, not his son, not his son. My body. I'm not shy. Once I was shy. I dreamed I was in school and everyone wore clothes and I wore only underwear. I was skinny and sure everyone was looking at me. I sat around in my underwear hoping they would turn away so I could run into the cloakroom and put on a raincoat. Then I grew old and all the other crap in the world settled in around me. It no longer makes any difference if I wear anything. I could sit in a bus station naked and ask for a transfer. Who cares? It doesn't matter. New York City, brownest damn place I've ever seen. Buildings, grass, trees, streets, water, people. If people didn't dress, there wouldn't be any blues and greens at all. I like it though, it's not boring. You can't go to sleep if the town's up. A clanner would be freaked out there. A dedicated member would have to wear 2 hoods and walk with his back against the wall. He'd feel like a worm in a chicken pen. New Yorkers aren't stuffy. They talk. They tell you more than you want to hear. About you too. I love the way they'll push you off the sidewalk and still say they love you. They pride in those tall buildings. But I laugh a little inside. When I remember flying into Denver and seeing the mountains behind the city and noticing that the whole city and its tall buildings looked like mold growing on a rock, I thought, that's how New York would look if it were here. Big is just from the inside out. Orgasm. There's no sound for going mad. There's no word to capture the queer sensation that makes you tremble progressively until your body rids itself of all feelings, all fluids, all heat. You're left oddly on fire, yet frozen, close, yet flung into space. You come down. You're happy. You want to do it again. Pani. She was kind enough, but cold. She kept her distance from everyone. Her husband died. Their children came and looked at his body. They remember how cold he had been to her, how he drank, how poor they were, how she had scraped their lives together day to day. She didn't think about the things that had happened. Once they left their baby in a buggy in the sun by a stream while they talked. The buggy rolled into the stream. They couldn't catch it, and the baby drowned. He never let her forget it. Not once. Then another baby came. She felt better then, and she held the baby all the time. And one day they sat together, the three of them, on a balcony. A funeral passed by below, and he began to scold her about the one she had lost in the buggy in the stream. She was crying when the balcony broke, and her baby fell from her arms under a pile of jumbled wood. The baby died. She cried. She grew old very young. She worked and kept her distance. She had other children as consolation, but it didn't help. She grew older still and distant, but she was kind. He had been hard. Her life had been hard, but she lived a long time. When her body died, her children came to see her, and they cried.